friends, welcome back. Today I want to answer a question that I get asked a million times. I've been asked this question so many times that I figured we need to do a video about it. And that question to me gets asked in a way that I really can't answer. And I can't answer the question appropriately because I don't know or I don't have all the information. And the question that I get asked so many times by so many sellers, either on Whatnot auctions or now Posh shows, is how do I figure out my starting bid on an auction? That is the question I get asked so many times. A lot of sellers want to know, what is the strategy? What is the exact dollar amount that I need to be starting my auctions on? And to be honest, my go-to answer is, I have no idea. I don't know. And the reason I answer that is because I don't know and I don't have all of the information. And I'll walk you through it. Here is what I use in my business when I'm running my auctions to know what my starting bid is going to be so that I don't lose money. But before we go into that method that I use, I would like to highlight two specific scenarios or situations that need to be taken into account before we determine what our starting bid price needs to be. Okay? The first two scenarios that we need to talk about when we're determining our calculation is, what is the situation in our auctions? Are you a new seller or are you a seasoned seller? Specifically on Whatnot, I think this is really important. Are you someone that when you go live, you have repeat customers, you have established a name for yourself in that seller community, you have repeat buyers coming in, and you really have established yourself through a pretty high following in the platform? If you are new to the platform, and by new I mean you have less than 1,000 followers on Whatnot specifically, I would say the methodology that I'm going to describe for you is what you need to take into account and really determine if that is the way for you to go. If you have more than 1,000 followers and you have 30, 40, 50 people coming to your shows, then you can get away with not really using this methodology, but I would definitely say that you should know your numbers. Okay, definitely know your numbers and definitely know where your comfort zone lies. And the reason I'm saying this is because many people who have a larger following tend to start their bids at $1 sudden death. That is used quite a bit on Whatnot. It is used to get the bidding, the auction psychology into their shows, get people excited with bidding, and they have enough eyes on their items that it will get bid up, okay? And it's safer, for lack of a better word, for them to be able to use that methodology because they do have the people there that will safely bid it up and bring it into a closing bid that is going to give them profit. So that is one of the two scenarios. If you are a newer seller where you have less following, less people showing up to your shows, then this is the method that I would propose you really use to determine what your starting bid is. Okay, and we're going to use some basic examples to walk us through how I calculate my starting bids. Okay, so the first thing you need to think about is you need to know what is your cost of goods. And I use the average method, okay? When I go sourcing, let's say I go to a thrift store and I'm sourcing away and I'm purchasing items and I'm getting, really lucky with great items, and I source 100 items in a store. Or let's say in the week, I sourced 100 items and I end up spending $500. Okay. I don't need to know the price of each and every item. I just need to know what the average is. Okay. That is how I do my bookkeeping. That is how I do my accounting. That is how I price my item and determine what profitability looks like for me. So if I spend $500 in the week and I bought 100 items, then I know my cost of goods is $5, right? So I will go ahead and I will take those $5, and I usually do the calculations for an entire month. It's just easy for me. I just look at the ticket. I look at how many items I purchased and I divide it, and I divide the total amount by the number of items, and it's going to give me my average cost of goods. Okay. So let's assume in this scenario, the average cost of goods is $5. Pretty straightforward. The next number you're going to need to know is your expenses per sale. Okay. What are the cost of expenses? What does it take per transaction that you sell to continue running your business? Because there are costs to running a business. There's costs to everything that we do. You have expenses, and that needs to be taken into the equation. Just like your cost of goods, it's just as important to determine the expenses in your business. So how I do this, and a good easy way to doing this, is I will take all my expenses from the previous year. Everything I spent. Now, if you buy things from, let's say, Amazon, and you have them all in one area and you can print out all your invoices, you can easily calculate what your expenses have been. And what I mean by this is, everything that you have purchased to keep your business running. So in this situation, I'm going to calculate everything I purchased. For instance, shipping supplies, pens, thank you cards. Maybe I purchased a new iPhone to stream on. Maybe I purchased a new ring light. Maybe I purchased a new laptop. Whatever it is that I purchased that year, I'm going to calculate for the entire year. I'm going to add it all up, and I'm going to have a total dollar amount for the year. The other thing that you need to know to be able to figure out what your expenses per sales are is you need to know how many transactions you had that year. So how many times did you have a sale? If you let's say you spent $5,000 last year in expenses, which is pretty reasonable. And last year, you sold 10,000 items. You had 10,000 transactions, which is also pretty reasonable. Okay. So if you spent $5,000 and you had 10,000 transactions, your cost of expenses per transaction is 50 cents. That is how much your expenses are per transaction. That is how much it's going to cost you to continue running your business. Okay. 50 cents for every sale needs to be covered to continue running your business, to continue ordering supplies, to continue upgrading your phone, whatever the needs are. So once we know what our cost of goods are, average cost of goods are, we know what our expenses per transaction are, we need a third thing in order to calculate what our starting bid is. So the third factor we need to know, the third set of numbers, is going to be the fees that are being charged to you on each platform, because your sales need to be able to cover those fees that need to be paid. We're going to have the scenario of Whatnot fees. We need to know what the fees are. And Whatnot charges 8% for the transaction immediately when the item is sold. So immediately when the item is sold, Whatnot is going to take 8% of the total amount that you're being paid. Okay, so you sell an item for $10, right? Whatnot's going to take 80 cents. The other fee that Whatnot charges you is a processing fee. And this is when you are retracting your money from the platform. You have to pay this fee. When you're shipping your items, when you're getting paid, you have to pay a processing fee. And that is 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, per sale. Okay? So I try to average this up just in my mind to keep things simple. I automatically just average it up to 15%. So in total, it is 10.9% plus 30 cents. I just do an automatic average of 15%. It just makes it easy for me to understand and remember it. Now we have all three numbers that we need to determine what our starting bid price needs to be in order to cover our cost of goods, the expenses that it's going to take to continue running our business, and the fees that are needed to be paid to the platform. So in this scenario, if our cost of goods is $5, right? We've calculated that to be $5. Our expenses are 50 cents per transaction, because if we spent $5,000 for the year in expenses and we had 10,000 transactions, that equals out to 50 cents per transaction. So now we're $5.50. Now we need to determine fees. So if you take 15%, right, of the fees, if you were to sell something for $5.50, those fees would be 83 cents. So now we can determine that in order to break even, our starting bid needs to be $6.63. Pretty simple, right? Because we're not in the business to lose money. And that is break even. So now that means that you're able to replenish your money of cost of goods. You're able to continue funding your expenses, because expenses will continue to come as we need more shipping supplies, more updated equipment, whatever the needs are. And we will be able to pay the fees to the platforms that we're selling in. Obviously, if you're doing Posh shows, your fees are going to be higher because Posh charges $2.95 up to $15 or 20% anything above $15. So the fees are going to be higher. So you're going to have to do the math on that one. So now you know that $6.63 is your break even. So let's round it up to $7. $7 is the basic minimum amount that you should start any auction on Whatnot in order to break even. But we're not here to break even. We're here to make money. So you're going to have to determine which two of the processes you're going to need to take in order to make profitability on your starting bid. The first one is you're going to start your bid at your rock bottom break-even price, and you're going to work your item up to get bids. You're going to hype it up, you're going to sell it in your shows, and you're going to want people to bid on them so that it can go up to $8, $9, $10, $20. And you are in the black in profitability on that item. Because remember, we started at break even. So anything bidded above, you are in profit. How much profit? That's just going to depend on the bid and the activity in your show. The other methodology that you can use once you know your basic break even point is you're going to start it higher than that. So if you say, okay, I want to guarantee that my bids that I receive are going to be in profitability, then you might start your item at $8, $9, $10 starting bid. That is your starting bid that you want it to be in order to make money. And that is the two ways that you can definitely determine and utilize to be able to get profitability. It is important to determine several factors, as I mentioned in the video. You need to know what your actual turnout is in your shows, what you are expecting, and what is your average. As you continue to grow, that will continue to change, but you need to keep your eye on that number. You also need to know all of the numbers that I talked about. For instance, your expenses, your cost of goods, the fees in the platform. Obviously, if you're going to be selling on Posh shows, your starting bid is going to need to be a little bit higher to break even. And you need to know what is the turnout, right? What is the activity in your shows? So that is my long answer to a very short question. What should I start my bids at in my shows? And the answer is know your numbers. Know your numbers so that you can make that determination on your own. Will that number change? Absolutely. If your expenses go down, if the fees go up on the platforms, if your cost of goods go down, say you're able to get inventory at a lower price, then yes, your opening bid is going to be lower or higher. It just depends on the situation. But if you know the method and you know the formula, you will always be able to safely determine when you are in the black, meaning when you are in your break even and entering profitability per item. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's helpful to you. I hope you come back to it over and over again to gain reference, to gain ideas on how to better utilize the information you have to make educated decisions in your own business. All right. Thank you so much, friends. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. Please don't forget to click on the bell notification so you get notified when I drop any videos, because I will be dropping more videos on how to sell on Whatnot and Posh shows. Bye, friends.